Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, and a good morning to you. Icy out there. Everybody be careful. God, I almost broke my neck trying to retrieve my New York Times. It's icy. It's Tuesday, and that means we're joined by my sister, Susan. Hi.
Hi. Well, to continue the weather report, it's blizzarding here. I had to suit up to go look for the newspaper in the snow myself.
I'd rather blizzard than this.
It's sort of fun, but you know what weather people have done to us, what the media has done to us, is what I used to experience as great beauty and pleasure and fun. Now I immediately go to anxiety. And I have to talk myself down to, it's just snowing, Suze. Just relax.
Exactly right. And you know what? I remember being surprised when I was told by somebody in the know when I was in TV that the most important part of a newscast was the weather report. And that was what drew in. That's what some people, the only thing they wanted was the weather report. So it's not surprising that they started to make weather, a
news event, no matter what it was.
No matter what. So that they have and from Storm Center News. And I mean, it's Storm Center News on a bright sunny day in July. It doesn't matter. So there is this constant sense
with a picture of a hijacked truck someplace in Lower Slavonia.
Right. So the weather, is for them is golden. It's people tune in for weather. They know it. So they've weaponized it. And it coincides, strangely, with the fact that they no longer can predict it.
Yeah, we really should be scared now.
I know. They get it wrong all the time now. I mean, the percentage has to have gone way, way up because things have gone awry, and everything that they learned in meteorology school doesn't necessarily apply
we aren't
anymore.
acting predictably anymore.
Right, exactly. So, this sense of weather as and then they brought in the wind chills and the heat factor. So, let's say it's 22 degrees out.
It feels like one.
It feels like. Right. And I'm thinking, of course, like you, I'm thinking, none of this existed when we were young. And
it was cold. It was either cold or not cold.
That's right. And it snowed or it didn't snow.
And it was relatively colder or
it was natural. It is what happened.
In the winter in Wisconsin. Yeah. It's real cold. You should bundle up.
God. But no, this is what what they do. And they and
but as much as I miss my dog, I am pleased that on a day like today, I don't have to walk him because I have a sneaking suspicion that lurking underneath this beautiful white snow is ice.
Is ice, yeah. Well, I'm looking out at ice here. It's raining and snowing and in betweenish, and winds blowing, and they said the winds were going to be like 40 miles per hour. It's absolutely windless at the moment, but I'm sure they're right about that as it blows through. But we're not. So if you look at the radar, everyone from where you are, upper Midwest, to all down the eastern third of the country is wet. Right. Put it that way. Right. Yeah. God forbid you're flying anywhere near there.
But it's fun. Well, you wanted to. Yeah. Speaking of
flying.
Yeah.
Days.
Be careful if your plug falls out.
And now, they grounded all those planes, and now United Airlines has said, we're finding lots of loose bolts. I'm thinking, I'm sorry. Not only is it one of the more unpleasant experiences you can do, which it wasn't once. Now it just seems like we're heading into something potentially dangerous. I mean, we've seen.
Well, I would remind you that plane improbably landed with nobody getting hurt. Somebody lost a phone. Somebody lost a shirt. But miracle that no one was seated in that row.
It's a miracle no one was seated there because
and that it happened at such a low altitude, or other people would have been sucked out.
Right, exactly. And they were able to return. And the strange thing was, Susan, I last week was talking about that horrific fire that enveloped
in Japan. Yeah, and they got them all out.
Everybody got out. And I was saying, and you saw video from inside, the passengers with flames, just nothing but orange in the windows all around them. They followed every command, and nobody got out of line, and they all lived. And I said, I have a feeling if that plane were full of Americans,
it wouldn't have happened. I had the same thought. I mean, there are cultures that are more prone to behave according to how they're told. And it saved their life. And around here, there'd be people, there'd be people going, but my jewelry's in but I need my wallet. But,
But then I was proved wrong because, in fact, the people aboard the Alaska Airlines
shut up and did what they were told.
They pretty much did. Not quite as well. There were some who got up and were screaming and yelling. But, yeah. But I read something today written by an American who's been flown on Japanese airlines a lot. And he said their, video before you take off is very different than ours because it's animated for one thing, and it literally shows what will happen if, in attempting to get out of the plane, if there's trouble, a passenger stands up and tries to open up, an overhead to get their bag.
Right.
And they show people piling up and they show it'll kill people.
It'll kill people, yeah.
They show that before every plane takes off. Now, I suspect we don't because we don't want to suggest to people
that a plane can crash.
Right. We say things like, in the event of a water landing, which means in the event we crash into the water. There's no such thing as a water landing. Sully Sullenberg notwithstanding. Sullenberger. I mean, a water landing.
I always wonder about that anyway, because if you're flying anywhere over an ocean and you land in the middle, you probably managed to land in the middle of the ocean, and all you got is that flotation device. If it's winter, you're going to be dead in 5 seconds anyway. If
who's going to come get you?
Who's going to come get you timely? Here's the good news: flying is actually the safest way to travel. It is.
They say it is. In the event of a water land, every time I hear it, I have to chuckle to myself.
I don't even like the part where I fly over Lake Michigan to turn around.
Yeah.
I really don't. It gives me the willies.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's enough from our flight stuff. And speaking of ice and all that.
This is just a free-floating anxiety discussion.
Right. Hey, speaking of anxiety, I got 2 people today have sent me this God made a farmer that was a thing with that Paul Harvey, remember him? The rest of the story. Paul Harvey once speaking to the future farmers of America, and this is in 1978. He gave a speech, and then it was published later. And part of the speech is this: and on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. And God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day, milk cows, eat supper, then go to town, stay past midnight, yada. Susan, have you seen the Donald Trump God?
Oh, yes.
Trump? Well, that is it's they use this speech as a template.
It's total ripoff, right?
Yeah, and then somebody else, like was here, Milt, sent me the God Made a Farmer thing and said, by the way, that was also something that, and you might recall it, that Ram Trucks, it was one of the Super Bowl ads, Ram Trucks 2013, ripped off the same speech for Ram Trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that because I thought it was so weird. So like, what? It's a friggin' truck. It was like, and God. And
that's like our mother who watches these commercials and goes, and what was that one about?
Yeah, right. It's so over. It's just like ridiculous. So as Milt said, so the video that Trump is, which creeped me out beyond belief. I found it so chilling.
It is.
Trump, so that video is he says, is a repurposed truck ad, which was a repurposed Paul Harvey speech. So now I actually have the ad, the truck ad, I have the Paul Harvey.
You have the whole ancestry.
I want to thank Milt and Bob for, totally covering all of it, but I'm still freaked by that video because it is such out and out crazed propaganda and attempt to make him into literally a messiah. God. I know you can't make it up. It's why it's worse than a weather forecast for anxiety production. It is just unbelievable. Anyway, God. Oy. Hey, something cute. Have you seen the video
of the mouse?
Yeah. Guys, if you haven't, check out video of mouse tidying up. Oh my, how cute is that? So it's a guy in Wales who has a shed where he, does stuff. And he started noticing that when he went back in the morning, tools weren't where he'd left them. And in fact, things seemed to be neater. And he installed.
Well, actually, it started not quite that way. It started when he noticed that his bird seed was being very carefully emptied into his shoes. And then it went on to finding, straws and screws and nails placed in like an ashtray.
Okay, so. And then he put up the camera, and damn, this little mouse.
Every night.
Busy.
Every single night.
Busy. And hauling like, a
screwdriver.
I mean, getting it is hard, but he gets in, he puts it in this little tray, and then he drags. It's just so
goes back
cute.
And gets something else. He shows up every night. He's like a Walt Disney, a Cinderella beast, that comes in singing to clean at night.
Oh, it's so cute. You could die. He said he's nervous now because he saw an owl outside the shed, and he says, "Don't you go after my mouse." He's terrified that mouse is somehow. But, on the other hand, so they talked to some rodent experts, and they said, well, they do like to, certain mice have the same kind of sort of, they hoard. And they hoard and they put things in. Yeah, they're neat. So you know. I think it's so cute. I could just die.
Well, it explains it. I have noticed clearly that there's a mouse that hangs around in our garage because it is doing the same thing. It is taking birdseed out of the birdseed and jumping up to the mail shelf and leaving it in two very careful piles on either side of the door, into which the postman puts mail.
Oh, well.
It's all very cute.
It is. I think I have a mouse, but, we haven't met. And, it's okay. I don't mind coexisting.
No, it's cold outside.
Yeah, I got a nice.
If you don't bother me, I won't bother you.
Yeah. It's not as bad as when I had a folding, I had one of those convertible sofas. Yeah. That was a doozy, that thing. I had that for a long time. It was amazing. It was an IKEA thing. And it had like a love seat in the middle that pulled out into a bed. And then on either side, it was also built in little tables and then recliners on the edge. It was this ridiculous thing. I love that.
It was the sort of piece of furniture one would find in a man's
yes, exactly, man cave.
Man cave.
Yeah, but it was mine, and I loved it. And that took up most of my, at the time, family room. And I can't remember. Well, somebody must have come to stay, and I needed the poor soul needed to sleep on that very uncomfortable fold out. And I pulled it out, and I'll try not to describe what we found, but it was a nest of mice had been living in it. I had been sitting all of those, God knows, for an entire year, sitting on top of these mice. They were having babies. I'm sitting there, they're having babies.
You were like a sitting hen.
I was brooding. I did not know that underneath my warm big bottom, there were like happy little mice coming into the world. It was unbelievable.
God. You got to start writing these stories down. My life is a calamity, but I survived.
Oh, man. Oh, Ellen writes, that mouse must have been watching Marie Kondo videos. She's the declutter. She stopped. You know what? I think she had a kid and realized how crazy she was. And she said, forget it.
She said, screw this. And now her house looks like my house. It's perfect.
Yeah. You know what? It's like, I think I had this realization. I know I had this realization earlier this year or last summer when I found myself grumpily looking at some of my neighbors' yards. And these are more newer neighbors. And I recalled how the people who used to live in these homes meticulously took care of their landscaping, and it was lovely. It gave me pleasure to look at their beautiful yards. And these newer people, it was all going to pot. And I remember thinking, oh, dang it. And I can't remember when it occurred to me that the people who were now in those houses
are too busy.
Yeah.
They can't even see that stuff.
No, they don't know what. I mean, it is. They've got young children. They have jobs. They're running around like crazy people like I used to. And then I realized, I thought to myself, only started, thinking about this kind of stuff when you were no longer a single parent working, two jobs.
When you didn't have small children. I mean, when I got into gardening and paying attention to that sort of stuff, I can guarantee you that my children were well, off into middle school, high school years.
Right.
And I in fact watched my son-in-law and my daughter look at their what probably had been a very nicely landscaped backyard with gardens, all around the little thing, and just rip it out and throw in grass because that's easier to mow and just keep it maintained and looking good.
Mm.
And I was going, why? I just kept my mouth shut, but I was going, God, that's a lot of expensive stuff you're taking out.
Oh, I wouldn't have done that. That's
they don't.
Grass is no good. I don't like grass.
No, I don't like. I would have put in, but I understand.
I know we could do. People have different needs, and people with young children, grass is good. You play on it and stuff.
That's right.
That's right. So one more thing before we get into anything serious, and I hope we don't. Did you see, it became a national story, but it was a local story. The dog, the Pittsburgh dog that ate $4,000.
Oh yeah. I just saw something like that in passing, and I didn't think it was anything, I didn't pay any attention. Someone he did eat $4,000.
Yeah, he did. His name is Cecil, and he's a good dog. Never did anything untoward before, but
well, if it was declared as income, that would qualify as being a casualty loss and can at least be deducted and zeroed out.
Well, they managed to. He didn't swallow all of it. Some of it was just ripped apart all over the place. So they spent a lot of time jigsaw puzzling some of it together. And they were told by the bank that if they could bring back a semblance of they were hundreds and fifties. If they could bring back a semblance of the bill that had the serial number on it, they would honor it. Would be honored it. But he'd eaten. So in that regard, they managed to get I can't remember a whole bunch of money together, a few thou or something. But they got 1,500 pieced together. But so that meant there was pretty much 2,500 in the dog's gut.
And coming out the other end.
No, and he threw up later that night.
Oh, good. Was there a white rug around, and did it have lots of yellow bile in it?
Yes, I'm sure. The dog always runs immediately for.
Not to the floor, not to the tile. No, I want it on the carpet over there.
You always have to do it on carpet or your bed.
And if you try and slide a newspaper underneath, they turn around and go, "Leave me alone."
It's so true. Anyway, so they sifted through the puke and they got a few hundred more. And then, of course, they had to start,
going through the poop.
Oh, my God. They did. And I think they ended up, it said we knew he still had about 2,500 in him. And then he vomited up about 400. And his father is his
father. Yeah.
I never thought I'd be able to say that I've laundered money, but I have. So anyway, there Cecil is that, by the way, story was broken by Pittsburgh City Paper. Yay! And so, and he is the goofiest looking animal. He's a labradoodle with a big brown, a big brown head and a white body. He's a big guy. He's a big one. Anyway, he's famous now, Cecil, and he's been devalued. I forgot what they were doing.
Personally, I would have just done my casualty loss, taken it out.
Well, maybe they didn't know they could do that. Well, they were doing it because somebody who was doing work for them wanted to be paid in cash. I forget what the job.
Yeah, more tax consequences. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I hadn't mentioned it on the air. I'm sure the local news has been all over it. That would have been my story. That's the kind of story I was dispatched to. Important stuff like that. So, okay. Trump's in court again today.
Which he doesn't have to be, you understand. This is
so he's just there glowering, right? He's there
so that he can yell on the courthouse steps.
Mm-hmm. And this is the appeals court that is deciding whether or not a president can break every law in the books because he's president. Is that the one?
Right. Which, if you think about it, why did Ford pardon Nixon?
You know, he pardoned. That's exactly right. So
if you couldn't be, if what's the pardon for if you can't be charged?
Exactly. So why would, obviously Gerald Ford and his Justice Department thought Nixon could well find himself, any sort of job where you are given, some sort of indemnification by your employer, which is what we're talking about, is correct? Yes.
Indemnifying the president from the consequences of his behavior, which to some extent, or her behavior, which to some extent occurs.
Makes some sense. Yes.
But if you think about it, all of those indemnifying clauses always have a little asterisk, which is unless said actions are beyond the scope of your employment.
Yep.
And that would include things like insurrections and, rape and, stuff like that.
Yes. Stuff like that. Wouldn't apply.
No.
Well, we'll see. I don't know how many of the judges on this court he has. By the way, and speaking of the bully boy strong arm tactics in his statements, and then knowing that his zombies will act on it and take his words and make them into more physical threats. Did you see that Jack Smith?
Mm-hmm.
His police were called to his house.
Yeah, he was swatted.
He was swatted. Somebody said he killed his wife. The cops in Maryland, or wherever he lives, I think, were racing to his house, and then they got called by his security detail.
Well, they got stopped by them when they arrived at the house and said, "Go away."
Yeah, this is nonsense. Everybody inside is fine. But, that was on Christmas Day, it says. I thought that happened last night. I guess they're just letting people know about it. Do you know how much we, the taxpayers, are paying to safeguard?
And how many real emergencies are delayed responses or people dying because the cops are off doing this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Because they have to respond.
Just between April and September in 23, $4.5 million was needed to secure Smith and some others in his employ. Wow. So there's that. Sorry, where am I going here? Sorry. Oh, speaking, as long as we're on him, let me just get to this, okay?
Sure. I have no idea what this is, but I think that's
this
fine.
is where I feel like I'm losing my mind. You know how, like looking at that video of Trump that he's, ordained by God to save the world. And then the fact that the zombies that constitute the Republican Party in the House of Representatives are going to impeach Joe Biden for something that they can't quite find any evidence of, but they say that he's a crook and has been making tons of money off of foreign entities. And then, the reason I feel like my head's going to explode is we know that that's exactly what Donald
Well, of course. Well, I mean, your head is just starting to explode.
No,
this
I
has
can't
been going on
anymore.
for a decade already.
I know the projection. What I just can't. The fact that at first it was just Trump, but now that he has the entire party, so that we do not have a working legislature now. It is merely a bunch of puppets doing this performative theater for Der Fuhrer. It's so grotesque. We know that Trump received, they know this is just a drop in the bucket, but they've been able to pinpoint $8 million paid from 20 foreign governments into Trump's businesses while he was in the White House. That's
nothing to see here, folks. Absolutely nothing to see here.
It's exactly what the Republicans are so far ridiculously unsuccessfully trying to prove that Biden and his son were doing and or are doing. I mean, that what's his name? That horrible son-in-law.
Yeah, Jared Kushner. That Trump was out of office for like 2 seconds, and Jared walks away with $2 billion. $2 billion
for a hedge fund, and he's never run one before.
Yeah, he has no experience in that.
No, so I wonder what that was about, huh? Oh my God! Listen to this. So here's something Trump said. He says he does this out loud. This is right before he's elected president. He said to the crowd, Saudi Arabia, I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend $40 million, $50 million. Am I supposed to dislike them? I like them very much.
Exactly. I remember when he said that. And I thought to myself, if I were in a courtroom and he were on the stand, I would say, I rest my case.
Yeah, right. Jeez. The Constitution, remember that, prohibits federal office holders from accepting money or gifts of any kind whatsoever from foreign governments and monarchs unless they obtain the consent of the Congress to do so. Oh, yeah, I remember Trump going to Congress and saying, hey, could I take all this money coming in from this one, that one, and the other one? Oh, my God. Okay. I don't think I'm going to make it through this year. I just want to say. I just don't.
You and Michelle Obama.
Is she saying that too?
She's saying, I'm just petrified.
Yeah. Okay. So, hey, what do you think? The big
Not
theory.
Much. What?
What do you think? The Defense Secretary, what was the elective procedure?
I don't know.
Went awry. What could it have been? Somebody said, well, maybe it was something embarrassing that he doesn't want to, he had.
Let's run through our medical advertisement, shall we? What
could it be, and why?
I don't know.
Why do we still not know?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, exactly what it is, I don't know. The important part was if he's in ICU, the chances of his having unclouded judgment and why he hadn't clearly said, I mean, the elective surgery was one thing. The aftermath of the elective surgery is the other thing. And it might have been that he was just too sick to do it and no one did it for him. And apparently his own secretary was out of town or she would have caught it. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, now I want to know, well, okay, what happened?
Of course. Well, none of us are going to rest till we know. So here's this very private guy, we're told, that he actually eats alone when he's, overseas doing this and that. He doesn't eat with he has dinner from room service. He's a real loner, which is odd because he's
part of the team.
Yeah, he's on top of his whole big team. But so he's a little unusual kind of person. But now this is where, things go awry. He's now in the spotlight in a way that he never, ever, ever wants to be. And of course, there's Republicans calling for his impeachment. They want to impeach you, Susan. They want to impeach everybody.
I know. Well, I'm totally impeachable.
Yeah. God, man. I just really wonder what... Sorry, Lloyd. Now we all gotta know. Just saying. Margaret says hemorrhoids. Well,
yeah, but how did he end up? What happened?
Well, he might have. He
might have bled out. I mean, who knows? He was in terrible pain. I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm thinking it was. Who knows? Whatever it was something that could have resulted in terrible pain, such that
it can be anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can make an argument for anything from the top of his head down through his torso.
Well, he's still hospitalized. He's out of the ICU, but he's still in the hospital.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez. My God. Well, so Susan.
Yes.
I talked to Susan and my mom last night, and I said, so did you see the Golden Globes? Because I didn't talk about them yesterday. And Susan said, not really. She got about 2 minutes into the opening, supposedly funny monologue, right? And
no, I also realized that I sort of didn't know who anybody was. I mean,
except you're out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're out of it.
I'm just old and out of it. I am. If you don't live with younger people who keep you,
Yeah, but I don't. And Suze, I knew a little more than you.
Yeah, well, you did.
Some of the movies. Yeah. So anyway, I saw Barbie. I saw Killers of the
something moon.
I saw that one that I love, The Anatomy of a Fall, which staged a big upset and won best screenplay. I saw a few of them. And then the TV, because they do TV too, I saw, Succession, which cleaned up. And I saw The Bear, which cleaned up. Did you see The Bear?
I've watched a couple of seasons of The Bear, yeah.
Okay. I see she's not into it.
Well, so anyway. The problem is that it keeps getting interrupted because the person that our mother has lost interest in all that stuff. So the way we would while away an evening, I just don't do that with her anymore. And now I'm out of the habit.
Oh, okay. Blame it on Mom.
Yeah, I do, sort of.
Okay. So here's the thing. The guy who was the MC, I never heard of him. Speaking of being out of it. You ever heard of this guy?
No.
Joe Coy. J-O and then K-O-Y.
Yeah, he's a comedian, apparently.
Supposedly. I did not know who he was. All I can say is, first of all, the opening was awful. They didn't even bother making a good open. Then when he started, it was a train wreck. I've never watched. You know how you're watching and you're thinking, oh my God.
Yeah, that's why I turned it off.
Yeah, it was just
painful.
It was unbearable. And so the New York Times has their pop culture reporter, a guy named Kyle Buchanan, was in the audience. He was there covering it. And he said this: I don't think I'll ever forget the feeling of the entire room turning on him in real time. You could see it on the TV. He said, you could feel the room turning. He says, I've seen award show hosts, screw up before, but I've never, ever seen one bomb so hard that the audience became actively hostile.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, I clearly missed some of the beginning, but when I saw him, throw out that line about Taylor Swift, and I saw her reaction, I went, whoa. And the only reason she would do that is if the whole room were already
he'd already
right there with her,
Yeah, he'd already lost the room. Because what he said about her, it wasn't funny.
It was a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal. I don't know why but she was already like, screw you.
That's what I'm saying. To me, that explains that moment because, she lets far larger things just glide down her back,
So he said, the culture reporter said,
Travis Kelce for one, yes?
Yeah, everywhere I looked, there was just stone-faced, arms crossed, loathing. So here's what I've been thinking since. I feel so sorry for this guy.
Oh, no, he just upended his whole career.
Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. And he knew, obviously.
No, by the end he was throwing, and this I just know because I've been reading about it. And,
he said, look,
he threw a tantrum. Give me a break.
Give me a break. He said, I only got this gig like 10 days ago. That's true. They didn't have a host.
No.
10 days before it. So whoever, he was blaming the writers and stuff, but it was horror. And then he had to come back every once in a while to do. If I were he, I think I would have just walked out.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling so sorry for him now. In order to have gotten the job, he must be
somebody.
Yeah, he must have been sort of okay.
But he was probably pretty far down the list.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Geez, it was awful. It was just horrific. Anyway, wow.
Oh, and I would like to. So I looked at some of the clothes, and this was the first time that Helen Mirren, who I think always looks so impeccably gorgeous, I think she goofed.
I didn't see what. Speaking of clothes,
too much lavender fabric is, and for the first time ever, she looked dumpy. She is not a dumpy woman.
No. Speaking of looking dumpy, Billie Eilish.
No, that's her thing.
What was that?
That was relatively put together for her. I mean, she always comes at things, if she wants to, she looks like Marilyn Monroe. And it makes her so damn uncomfortable, she can't stand it. She hides behind those clothes. She does not want to have her body picked apart or maybe just go after, All
right, okay, but
that's what she does. I mean, it's
ways. There's like
it's an armor.
Okay, but you can do that without. Jeez, was just hideous, and you can wash your hair. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, no big deal. But the one dress.
That's how I feel about Harry Styles. I don't get him either. Anyway.
I don't either. But here's the thing. There's one person's dress, and she won. That's so. Speaking of anxiety, I had such anxiety it was like, oh God,
Don't let it fall out.
Yes, don't let it. It was like, though. It's the woman who she won for, I think, Best Supporting Actress, and she was in that movie, The Holdovers, with Paul Giamatti. She plays the
okay.
Yeah.
Divine
yes,
Joy,
Divine.
Whatever her name is. Yeah.
Divine Joy Randolph.
Yeah.
She was wearing I don't even know how to, when they showed a picture of her at first just sitting at her table, I got nervous because there was so much boob
overflowing.
Already. Oh, and then the dress was like, what would be like the bra-like part just looked like it was a shelf. And it was simply, I could not believe when she got up and started walking. I thought, oh no, this is going to be the biggest. I mean, biggest because, I mean, it's huge. I mean, we're talking about two of the largest breasts I've ever seen. And
that's where you were wrong. There was still a lot more to come, and she was in crying.
Oh my God. I couldn't have been the only one who was like, oh my God. Whatever.
Well, you know how I feel about this whole, all this cutout stuff. I mean, and just people basically going up in their underwear, and or
so awful,
or a little sequin, that comes out and outlines one's breast and one's privates, and the rest is all clear. And I'm going, well, why are you bothering? Just come out naked. If that's what you want to do. Just be naked.
Be naked. We're okay. Go do it. Margaret's telling us that Joe Coy dated Chelsea Handler, somebody else I don't really know.
Oh,
I know the name.
Is he the guy that they broke no, that wasn't who she was.
I don't know.
That was messy too. Oh, if he was her main squeeze for a while, then that ended up, well, it didn't end up well, and it involved threesomes and that sort of stuff.
Well, Susan, threesomes
are totally normal. It's whatever anybody wants, but I don't, privacy. This poor guy's in trouble, is what I'm saying, and I don't even know if that's who it was.
Yeah, she's just talking off the top of her head. Hey, Susan, so we shot a thing up to the moon yesterday, and we were all excited here in Pittsburgh.
And it just farted. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was made here. And I don't know if it's made here, but the company's here. And they were also excited. And our new county executive was down there for the launch and everything. And here's what I want to know, though. It was carrying, Suze, a bunch of stuff that if it got landed on the moon would then have been, deployed and for various experiments.
Right.
I know Carnegie Mellon had something on board. And also on board, though, which caused an uproar from the Navajo Nation, were the cremains of certain people who you might know. The guy who created Star Trek, Roddenberry.
Yeah, right. Okay. Roddenberry, right.
Is that it? Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever? I don't know. And Arthur C. Clarke, the sci-fi guy, novelist. So his those remains are on there. And
not anymore. Now they're scattered through space, which is their biggest dream.
No, because they're still floating. They got into space. They're in space, but I guess they wanted to be on the moon. I wonder if there was a contract that said we will get you to the moon, and it's very doubtful now that they will. How that goes. The Navajos didn't like it because they say the moon is their major celestial whatever. I don't know what, and it was.
Not designed for stunts of this sort.
No,
right?
just depositing human remains was desecration of a.
Someone stepped in the mighty hand of the Lord.
There you go. So the Lord agreed with the Navajos and said, "We're not."
No.
Whoa. Doing it.
Yeah. Here's my question. Given that we been there, did that in 1969, I would be my guess, because I remember where I was when I was watching it.
Yeah.
Why is it why are we doing it again? Why don't we?
Because it's private.
Because we lost all that knowledge? What?
No, because I don't know. Listen, it's always about money. So private companies, the gold in them dar craters and stuff. There's stuff to be mined, perhaps?
No, let's just use the word that the Navajos did. There's stuff to be desecrated.
We see that moon. We've left some junk on there already, and we ain't done, because that's what we do. And it could be used also, I think, to prepare to do what Musk wants to do, head on to other planets. So, the moon would be like an oasis that you can go back to. I don't know, but money. Money. That's it. God. So, I'm trying to think. Oh, hey, remember when January 6th happened? And
yes, I do vividly.
Yeah, who can forget? So, all this rage that befell the Capitol and some of the folks there that day begot more rage from people like us,
right?
Who weren't there. And we started putting pressure on corporations and businesses to not give money to any of the
insurrectionists,
Republicans who openly, by voting against Biden's, all the guys who refused to sign off on the election, even after the
insurrection, right?
Yeah, I think the majority of Republicans,
right?
And so all of these corporations, they were falling all over themselves, saying, "We will not be giving money to those people." Well, somebody remembered they said that and went back and looked.
And they all did.
Almost all. So it's just bullshit. They say whatever they need to say at the moment, and they know that
nobody will double check.
It doesn't, and even if they do, so what? Turns out hundreds of businesses and trade associations have contributed over $108 million to the campaigns of members of Congress who insisted that the election had been stolen. So you wonder how, a country sort of just slides into where we appear to be sliding to. And it happens in these little ways, right? Corporate community going along because they don't want to be left out. They play both sides. And that's actually what they say. Hey, look, we give to them and we give to the other guys because we want whoever ends up in power to be in our pocket. That's the reality.
Or at least not to, if not in their pocket, at least, not mad at them, not working against them. I mean, it's like let's face it, it's like paying off the mafia at this point.
More, by the way, more than 250 of the companies increase their donations to those lawmakers. And, the money that goes to the lawmakers helps them, obviously, be re-elected. And
right.
Many of them are in these gerrymandered safe districts where they don't need a penny. Just unbelievable. Oh. Are you okay there?
Yeah, I am. I'm just, it's dry heat. And it makes me choke.
It's the winter you were talking about that you love so much.
Well, it sure is pretty. I mean, in Wisconsin right now, the outside looks like black and white photography.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The sky is a white gray. The trees are black. The snow is white, and that's it. and it's just beautiful. But it's like your world becomes black and white.
Yeah, I love it. I think the older you get, the more you appreciate it, or maybe not. But I become more appreciative of the beauty of trees without leaves, and how you see the skeletal, majesty. It's just, beautiful.
Yeah. I used to, at my primary home for most of my life in St. Louis, which was located deep in a sort of native woods in Missouri at the end of a cul-de-sac. In the winter, when all of those trees were bare and the wind was blowing through, it sounded like ships knocking against each other. You could hear the trees just knocking, and it was so. I loved that sound. It was just wonderful.
Yeah. Have you ever gone back to see that house that you spent so much of your life in, now that it's in someone else's hands?
Yeah, I actually just drove by it when I was there a month ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How's it look?
It looks okay? Great. It looks great.
Good. They didn't pull up all your plantings.
No. I sold to some very lovely people who,
as far as you know, are still there.
Who I know are still there, and who bought it for a lot of reasons. But one of them was that beautiful garden that my my wonderful brother-in-law put in for me. Yeah.
Well, I happened to go by my old house, the house I had before I moved to the house I'm in now, and I loved that house. And there were people eating it. I could see into the window, and I found myself like staring at these people eating their dinner. And I thought, hey, you got to stop this. If they see you staring in their window, but I was just so taken by the fact that I don't know.
That there was somebody else who considered that theirs and who were thoroughly enjoying it. And when all you had left were memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that they're there. I always have to keep myself from knocking on the door and saying, hi, I lived here. Can I come in and look? People do that. And I did that once with Mother at the home she grew up in Galesburg, Illinois. We knocked on the door and they let us in. So that's always
Yeah. I think I know my son had, I think, taken his kids by where they grew up,
Yeah. I mean, that's where those homes hold such memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're powerful in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Says me who's sitting in our childhood home. This is.
Well, that's true.
I am really
rare.
privileged to, as are you. I mean, but this is the only house I have any memory of. You have some memory of the previous home, but this one we moved into when I was an infant.
Right. I have very little memory of their first, their starter home, but a little bit. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. It's huge stuff. And we're very lucky to still be able to be in that family homestead.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Look, we whiled away an hour and our blood pressure only went up like once or twice.
Yeah. I think we did pretty good.
I did too.
Thank you for that, because I need all the respite I can get. There is no way I can, keep
up the level of anxiety required to talk about it.
What's going on a daily basis. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it. I found myself no longer watching again cable news. I just can't take it. I don't want to hear it. But whatever. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you too. Bye.
Bye. And guys, I'll be back I'll be back tomorrow, as far as I know. Okay. Thank you very much. Go easy out there.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.